I won't bother with introductions. I just need to share this while I still can, before my mind gets filled with more things I can't explain. I don't even know how long I'll remain me. Love stories usually start with a chance meeting, don't they? Mine began this year, when I met the woman of my dreams. Literally, she was everything I'd ever dreamed of, down to the smallest detail. We shared every interest, finished each other's sentences, laughed at the same jokes. Perfect matches like that don't really happen, do they? I should have wondered about that. Her accent marked her as foreign, though I could never quite place where from. When our eyes met across the cafe, she approached first, her voice like warm honey in my ears. We talked for hours, the world fading around us. She mentioned she was new to the city, staying at a hostel while looking for a place. Something in her voice made my heart ache when she described her struggles to find somewhere permanent. Without thinking, I offered her a place to stay. My apartment had a spare room, after all. Looking back, who offers their home to a complete stranger? But at the time, it felt as natural as breathing. It was like the words came from my mouth before my brain could process them. Yet somehow it felt like the most obvious thing in the world. It wasn't until weeks later that I realized something odd. She had known my name from the start, though I never introduced myself. When this thought surfaced, it slipped away just as quickly, like trying to hold onto a dream after waking. Then came the dreams. Night after night, I'd jolt awake, heart racing, certain she was beside me. Those sweet eyes of hers would be fixed on my face, her lips moving in whispers of a language I couldn't quite grasp. But when I truly woke, everything was normal, our usual morning routine. Her in the kitchen cooking, me sitting down, waiting to be served. When did that become normal? When did I start forgetting what my life was like before her? God, what happened to me? Since when was I this hopeless romantic? The guy who used to stammer just asking for coffee directions, now living with a beautiful stranger? My old friends would laugh if they saw me, if I still talked to them. When did I stop talking to them? Her family appeared next, insisting on meeting me. They shared her strange accent, their voices carrying the same melodic quality that made my thoughts go fuzzy around the edges. Isn't she perfect for you? They ask, their smiles warm and inviting. You two were meant to be together. Within a week, we were dating. Within a month, they were planning our wedding. Can you believe that? Our wedding. The thought should have shocked me more. I hadn't even told my sister, the same sister who'd interrogate me for hours about any girl I so much as smiled at. The sister who called every Sunday without fail. When was the last time I answered her calls? I remember catching my reflection one morning. Something seemed different about my eyes. The color maybe? Or was it something deeper? Something in the way they followed her movement like a sunflower tracking the sun. The thought vanished before I could grasp it, like everything else that didn't fit into her perfect world. Then I met her relatives who came to visit. The way they welcomed me, with such genuine warmth and affection, like I was already part of their family. The children were different though. They would stare with those unnaturally still eyes, pointing and whispering in their language. Again, new brother, good. Old brother, gone. I didn't understand then. I wish I still didn't. Our wedding happened so fast, 1 month after meeting. 1 month. Even writing this, I feel my mind splitting in two. Part of me wonders why I rushed into marriage with a near stranger, while another part insists it was the most natural thing in the world. How did none of my family attend? Why didn't I invite them? These questions feel like trying to grasp smoke. My mind was too much in a haze during those days. Each question that surfaced in my mind would dissolve like morning mist. There are whole weeks I can't recall, places I don't remember going to, yet somehow, I ended up there. Then they brought me to their family estate, a sprawling property just 2 hours from the city. The roads getting there grew narrower, the houses fewer, until we turned onto a private drive I would have missed if not for my wife's direction. The honeymoon started normally enough. Despite being so close to civilization, the thick woods surrounding their property made it feel like we were in another world. The isolation should have bothered me, but like everything else about her, it felt right. She was the perfect wife, anticipating my every need, her love wrapping around me like a warm blanket. Too warm, too perfect. When did I start losing myself in her eyes? When did her voice begin to drown out my own thoughts? Sometimes I'd catch her watching me sleep, her fingers tracing patterns in the air above my skin. The next morning, my arms would itch, though I saw no marks. By this point in our marriage, 6 months had passed. Their discussions had become a constant backdrop to my life, warm family conversations in corners, joyous celebrations I couldn't understand, those affectionate exchanges between my wife and her mother that would shift to English the moment I entered her room. The frustration of being surrounded by all this love yet missing half of it started to crack through the haze of contentment they had wrapped around me. Even in my love-addled state, something in me yearned to be part of every aspect of my new family. That's when I had what I thought was a brilliant idea. I would learn their language in secret. Their genuine warmth and inclusion in everything else made me want to understand every word, every joke, every story they shared. Maybe it was the desire to truly be part of this loving family, or maybe some part of me was still fighting to understand what was happening. Whatever drove me, I began my study. For 4 months, I carefully learned their tongue. I used children's reading books, noting down phrases I heard during our family gatherings. I looked forward to surprising them all, imagining their delighted reactions when I could finally join their conversations fully. The strange thing was, even as their words began making sense, so did other things. Things I hadn't wanted to understand. Each translation brought clarity, like pieces of a puzzle I hadn't known I was solving. Time flowed strangely after that. While I was nearly caught studying one night, my wife brought up something new. She insisted I get tribal tattoos. Family tradition, they said, showing the intricate tribal designs that seemed to dance in the candlelight. They looked beautiful, and I agreed without hesitation. Looking back, I wonder if my growing understanding of their language had weakened whatever spell they had over me, because for the first time, I noticed how their eyes gleamed when I said yes, the way their loving gazes carried something else beneath the surface. Those concerned whispers between family members, always followed by reassuring smiles. The children's seemingly innocent chatter that held darker meanings. Everything started making terrible sense. One night, I overheard her speaking with her mother. "Dear, it's time. Prepare. He's yours. Final. Perfect. Love." Their sweet smiles felt different now that I understood their words. The children's warnings made horrible sense. Each new brother before me, where had they gone? What happened to the old brothers? After piecing everything together, I knew I had to leave. Even if I was misunderstanding something, I couldn't take the risk of staying to find out. My skin burned where the tattoos were, and sometimes in the mirror, I swore I saw them moving, tracing patterns I'd seen in their ancient books. I made an excuse about needing to sleep as I was too tired. They were deep in their discussion and made the fatal mistake of letting me go. I grabbed everything I could: power bank, phone, food, blankets, and anything else that might help me survive. My hands shook as I packed, and I tried to ignore how my fingernails had started to look different, longer, darker, more like hers. I ran. That's where I am now, hiding in these woods, trying to ignore how the tattoos glow through my clothes. The air is freezing, but I feel warm. Too warm. There's a smell like metal and roses rising from my skin, but that can't be right. Can it? Darkness is falling by now. The familiar city lights are probably visible somewhere beyond these woods, but I can't find my way through their property. The trees all look the same, and somehow, I keep circling back. I've found shelter against a massive tree, using its thick roots as a shield, but I'm not sure how long I can stay here. The tattoos, they're whispering now, calling me back. The metallic smell grows stronger, mixing with something sweet and familiar, her perfume. My phone sits useless in my hand. I should call someone, but my fingers won't dial. My thoughts keep slipping away, replaced by memories of her smile, her voice, her touch. No, those aren't my thoughts. That's not me. Sorry, that's not me. I hear footsteps crunching through the snow behind me. Soft, familiar, perfect. What are you writing there, dear? Her voice flows like honey, and my body turns toward it without my permission. Frost falls from my face. When did that start happening? Just my story, sweetheart. Don't worry. The words leave my mouth, but they don't feel like mine anymore. Were they ever mine? Why don't we go home? She asks, and I feel my mind clouding over with warmth and love and surrender. The last thing I see as I turn to her is my reflection in her eyes, my own eyes now the same impossible color as hers. My wife says hi.